Hey everybody, welcome back to the Bible Tidbits YouTube channel. Glad you joined us today. And today I want to talk about wisdom, the biblical idea of wisdom. So in the last year, just finished recently, I walked with a student through the entire book of Proverbs. We met every week almost perfectly. I mean, we missed just a very few weeks in the course of this year. So probably at least 50 studies with this student, just reading a section of Proverbs, discussing it, talking about it. And I got to say, it changed my life. I know it changed his life. And it was an amazing journey. And that launched my mind off into the idea of biblical wisdom. I mean, when we go through our day-to-day, we make thousands upon thousands of decisions, but how many of them are guided by biblical wisdom? You know, there was principles in the book of Proverbs that just stunned me. I was like, am I living this way? Am I doing this? There was many times where I see out in the world, I'm like, that's not what Proverbs is describing. They are walking contrary to the biblical wisdom that we read in the book of Proverbs. So I could see that. It opened up my eyes and my heart to so many things. And the book of Proverbs is a great start. And then even more recently, in my Bible read, I'm reading through the Bible, the Old Testament in the Hebrew order. I took a break for summer to read the New Testament. So I'm in the book of Job, getting close actually to the end of my plan. But the book of Job is wisdom. It's biblical wisdom. And after reading Proverbs and digging in Proverbs for over a year, I went to Job. I'm reading Job right now. I'm just about done with it. I'll finish tomorrow. And I was looking at it as wisdom. And I'm like, this is opening up one of the most difficult books of the Bible, probably, is the book of Job. I mean, Job is difficult. But man, so much more of it made sense viewing it through the eyes of biblical wisdom. And so I just want to charge you, I guess, today to recommend to your life to dig into the biblical wisdom literature. So you have Job, Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Songs of Solomon, Lamentations, and I would even say the book of James fits into the biblical wisdom literature. And those books, Proverbs is probably the best place to start. Proverbs and James is New Testament, a little different than the Old Testament wisdom literature, but start in Proverbs. Proverbs gives us so much for life about wisdom and how to live. And wisdom, it connects to every aspect of our life, from our relationships to our finances to just our souls. And it's such a shaping thing. Proverbs 1:7, I think, sets the stage for the whole book. It says this: the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and instruction. So if you despise wisdom, it says right there, the opening of the book, you are a fool. Wisdom should be something that we desire. And Proverbs is blunt. There's times where it says the stupid person does this. Don't be the stupid person. You know, we're like, it's almost, there's a shock factor to it. But then we see very clearly how we should live, how we should do things. And when you dig into wisdom literature, we know Proverbs isn't, if it says do this, this will happen. That's not a perfect rule. But if everything works as it should, that's how it will end up. Other wisdom books point us in different directions, and we can begin to formulate our mind around it. And one thing I want to just say on top of the wisdom literature that I think you should be thinking about in conjunction with this. In all of my studies, we see things about advice, taking counsel, heeding the instruction of somebody, your father, your parents. There's a call to mentorship in the wisdom literature. I don't think that you can get around the wisdom literature without this idea of mentorship. Whether it's a formal relationship like I have with this student where we meet up specifically to study the Bible together once a week, or if it's less so, we need some sort of mentorship and guidance. Often we call this discipleship or one-on-one discipleship. Discipleship's more broad than just this. But when we think about that, being discipled by a specific person, a mentoring discipleship relationship, that's a big part about what the wisdom literature calls us to. It's like, hey, you need to get instruction, to receive instruction in wise dealing and righteousness, justice, and equity. Mentorship is an important part. And the next most important part, I think, as we begin to look at literature based on wisdom or the wisdom literature of the Bible is the fear of the Lord. Right there, verse 7, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. We talk about wisdom. What wisdom is knowledge and the ability to apply it. So wisdom is the application of knowledge. It's not merely enough to know. You may know that that door is a push door, but if you stand there pulling on it, it's never going to open. It's knowing it's a push door and pushing on it to open it. That's a simple explanation, right? But it's knowing with the ability to do and how to do properly. And so many times these things are so much deeper than we initially understand. And that's where the wisdom comes in. The ability to discern what is right in situations where it's not black and white, it's not clear. That is what wisdom is, and that's what it does for us. And so, yes, this is a plea to study the wisdom literature, but really it's a plea to incorporate it into your life. Whenever you incorporate the wisdom literature into your life, it will shape your life. Many of our Bible reading plans do something to the effect of, Old Testament, New Testament, and a psalm a day, which is great. That's a great reading plan, and I highly recommend it. But I'm thinking in the next year, I want to do like Old, New, and then maybe a proverb a day to incorporate the book of Proverbs every day. There's 31 chapters in the book of Proverbs. 31. Most months have 31 days. That means you can get through the book of Proverbs basically 12 times in a year. If you recognize a month, not 31 days, and maybe double up one day, you can get through 12 times in a year easily on top of your Bible reading. Think about the wisdom that's going to add to you. And yes, we said Psalms is a type of wisdom literature, but I'd say it's more of a song type wisdom, a poetry type wisdom, where Proverbs is just such a practical thing. And then look at the other books as wisdom. Once you have a great understanding of Proverbs, Job is going to change how it does things. How you understand that difficult book is going to be changed when you begin to understand wisdom literature. Songs of Solomon, Lamentations, Ecclesiastes. I'm excited to get into those books after all this time in this wisdom literature, to start grasping them as wisdom and seeing them for what they are and how I can apply those to my life more deeply now. And so, wisdom literature, super important in the life of the Christian. And I think today, just as much as ever, it's super practical. In the world we live in, I have a friend who's got a TikTok and social media stuff that he does. And one of their things they say is make sense common again. Kind of a play on make America great again, but say make sense common again. Common sense is not something we see a lot. But I think the wisdom literature not only is common sense a lot of times, but it takes that common sense deeper. And it makes it so much stronger. Whenever you make your decisions, people see the decision, you're like, oh, that makes perfect sense. Whenever you base it off these biblical precedents. And so make sense common again in your life. Dig into the wisdom literature. Read a proverb a day. Just do it once. Maybe you don't wait till next year. Maybe just start right now. Reading a proverb a day. Read the book of James. The book of James is great. I've been memorizing the book of James. Blessed is the man who remains steadfast under trial. For when he is stood the test, he will receive the crown of life which God has promised to those who love him. Let no one say when he's tempted, I am being tempted by God. For God cannot be tempted with evil, and he himself tempts no one. That type of stuff is the stuff that changes your mind. So commit some of these to memory. Dig deep into the wisdom literature of the Bible, and it's going to change you. Recognize it for what it is. Take it, the knowledge, and apply it to your life. You will not regret it, and I promise you that. I thank you all for joining me. I hope to see y'all next time.